Have you ever met someone and instantly felt like something was off, but you couldn't explain why? Or maybe you've trusted someone who later betrayed you and thought, the signs were there. I just didn't see them. The truth is, people reveal far more than they realize. Every smile, every pause, every movement tells a story. You don't need to be a detective or a psychologist to notice these clues. You just need to know where to look. In the next 10 minutes, you'll learn simple psychology techniques that can help you understand people faster, spot fake confidence, recognize genuine interest, and avoid being manipulated. Some of these signs are so subtle that most people miss them completely. And stay until the end, because the final technique is one that many negotiators and investigators rely on. Once you learn it, you'll start noticing things you never noticed before. Let's begin. Number 1. Your brain starts judging before you do. Here's something surprising. Your brain begins forming an opinion about someone within seconds of seeing them. Long before you've had a real conversation, your mind is already asking silent questions. Can I trust this person? Are they confident? Do they seem friendly or dangerous? This happens automatically because your brain is always looking for patterns. It's trying to protect you by making quick predictions based on small details. But here's the problem. Those first impressions aren't always correct. Someone who looks confident might actually be nervous. Someone who seems quiet could simply be thinking carefully before speaking. That's why smart observers never rely on first impressions alone. Instead, they collect clues. Think of yourself as putting together pieces of a puzzle. One clue means very little, but several clues together can reveal a much clearer picture. That's the difference between guessing and observing. Number 2. Watch the feet before the face. Most people spend all their attention looking at someone's face. Ironically, the face is also the part of the body people control the most. People can fake smiles. They can hide anger. They can pretend to be interested. But their feet often tell a different story. Psychologists have noticed that when someone genuinely wants to stay in a conversation, their feet usually point toward the person they're talking to. If their feet are turned toward the exit, another group, or somewhere else, it can mean their mind is already preparing to leave, even if they're still smiling. Imagine you're talking to a classmate. They keep nodding, saying yeah, and smiling politely. Everything sounds normal, but their feet are already pointing toward the door. Without saying a word, their body may be telling you they're ready to end the conversation. Of course, don't judge based on one sign alone. Maybe they're late for class. Maybe they're just standing comfortably. This is why context matters. The goal isn't to jump to conclusions. The goal is to notice patterns. And the next clue people reveal is even harder to fake than their feet. It happens every time they speak, but almost nobody pays attention to it. Number 3. Listen to the voice, not just the words. Here's a mistake almost everyone makes. They focus on what people say, but ignore how they say it. The human voice carries emotion that words often hide. Think about it. Someone says, "I'm fine." Those 2 words can mean 10 different things. They could sound happy, excited, annoyed, nervous, disappointed, or completely exhausted. The words stay the same, but the meaning changes because of the tone. When you're trying to understand someone, pay attention to 3 things: their speed, their volume, and their pauses. If someone suddenly starts speaking much faster than before, they might be excited, or they could be anxious. If they suddenly become quieter, they may be unsure of themselves or worried about saying the wrong thing. And if they pause before answering a simple question, that doesn't automatically mean they're lying. It may simply mean they're thinking carefully. This is why psychologists don't rely on one clue. They look for changes from a person's normal behavior. Imagine your friend always speaks calmly. Then one day, when you ask a simple question, they suddenly rush through their answer, avoid pauses, and laugh for no reason. That change is more important than the answer itself. People reveal themselves through changes, not isolated moments. Number 4. Confidence doesn't look the way you think. Many people believe confident people are loud. They think confidence means talking nonstop, showing off, or always trying to be the center of attention. But real confidence usually looks much quieter. Confident people don't feel the need to prove themselves every minute. They don't interrupt everyone. They don't panic when there's a few seconds of silence. They're comfortable listening because they aren't worried about impressing everyone. On the other hand, fake confidence often tries too hard. Someone constantly bragging about money, Success, strength, or popularity may actually be seeking approval rather than expressing confidence. That doesn't mean everyone who talks about achievements is insecure. Again, context matters. But if someone is always trying to convince people they're important, ask yourself one question. If they truly believed it, why would they need everyone else to believe it too? Real confidence is usually calm. Fake confidence is often loud. Learning this difference can completely change how you judge people. Number 5. The eyes reveal more than you think. People often say the eyes are the window to the soul. While that's an exaggeration, our eyes do reveal useful information. When someone is genuinely interested in a conversation, they usually maintain comfortable eye contact. Not a constant stare, not looking away every second, just natural, relaxed eye contact. But here's where many people get it wrong. Avoiding eye contact does not automatically mean someone is lying. A shy person may avoid eye contact because they're nervous. Someone from a different culture may have different habits. Someone with social anxiety may struggle with eye contact even when telling the complete truth. Instead of asking, "Are they making eye contact?" ask, "Has their eye contact suddenly changed?" A sudden change tells you much more than the behavior itself. Also pay attention to blinking. Stress, excitement, surprise, and pressure can all affect how often someone blinks. Again, don't treat it as proof. Treat it as another clue. Remember, reading people isn't about becoming a human lie detector. It's about noticing patterns that most people ignore. And in the next part, you'll learn one of the biggest mistakes people make when judging others, and a simple technique that can help you understand someone's true intentions much faster. Number 6. Actions always beat words. Have you ever met someone who made huge promises but never kept them? Maybe they always said, "I'll help you," or "You can trust me." But when the time came, they disappeared. Here's a simple psychology rule that can save you from disappointment. Believe patterns, not promises. Anyone can say the right words. Words are easy. Actions are expensive. Imagine 2 friends. The first friend constantly tells you how loyal they are, but they cancel plans, forget commitments, and only call when they need something. The second friend rarely talks about loyalty, but they're always there when you need them. Who would you trust? Most people choose the second friend. That's because consistency builds trust. Psychologists often say that the best predictor of future behavior is repeated past behavior. One mistake doesn't define a person. Neither does one good action. But when someone behaves the same way over and over again, that pattern becomes much more meaningful. So the next time you're trying to understand someone, don't ask yourself what they said. Ask yourself what they've done repeatedly. Their actions are telling you the truth. Number 7. People reveal their priorities without realizing it. Here's something fascinating. You can often tell what matters most to someone simply by listening to what they naturally bring up in conversation. Some people constantly talk about money. Others always talk about status. Some focus on relationships. Others are obsessed with winning. None of these are automatically good or bad, but they reveal what occupies that person's mind. Notice what people complain about. Notice what excites them. Notice the stories they tell over and over. Without realizing it, people repeatedly reveal their values. For example, if someone constantly criticizes others, pays attention to gossip, and enjoys putting people down, that's useful information. If another person frequently talks about learning, solving problems, or helping others, that's useful information too. The topics people choose are rarely random. They're often reflections of what's important to them. Instead of asking someone, "What kind of person are you?" listen carefully. Over time, they'll answer that question themselves. Number 8. The pause that reveals everything. Now let's talk about one technique that's surprisingly powerful: silence. Most people are uncomfortable with silence. When a conversation becomes quiet for even a few seconds, they rush to fill the gap. Psychologists know this well. If you ask someone a question and then stay completely silent, something interesting often happens. They keep talking. They explain more than they planned. They reveal extra details. Sometimes they even answer questions you never asked. Why? Because silence creates a small amount of psychological pressure. People naturally want to remove that discomfort. Imagine asking someone, "So, what happened after the meeting?" They give a short answer. Instead of asking another question immediately, simply stay quiet. Maintain relaxed eye contact. Wait. Very often, they'll continue speaking on their own. This isn't about manipulating people. It's about giving them space to finish their thoughts instead of interrupting them. Sometimes the most valuable information comes after the person thought they had already finished speaking. And finally, there's one last lesson that ties everything together. It's the difference between people who constantly misjudge others and those who almost never do. Number 9. The biggest mistake people make when reading others. After learning all these psychology tricks, it's easy to think you can read everyone perfectly. But that's exactly where people make their biggest mistake. They see one behavior and immediately jump to a conclusion. Someone crosses their arms. They're angry. Someone avoids eye contact. They're lying. Someone smiles. They like me. Real psychology doesn't work that way. Every behavior can have many explanations. A person might cross their arms because they're cold. They might avoid eye contact because they're shy. They might smile simply to be polite. This is why professional psychologists and experienced interviewers don't rely on a single signal. They look for clusters of behaviors. For example, imagine someone suddenly starts avoiding eye contact, gives unusually short answers, speaks much faster than normal, and keeps looking toward the exit. None of those signs alone prove anything, but together, they suggest the person may be uncomfortable or eager to leave. The lesson is simple. Never judge a person based on one clue. Judge them based on consistent patterns. That single habit will make you a much better observer than most people. Number 10. The secret everyone forgets. Here's the most important psychology lesson in this entire video. If you want to read people well, first, learn to control your own emotions. When you're angry, you'll see enemies everywhere. When you're desperate for approval, you'll mistake politeness for friendship. When you're insecure, you'll assume everyone is judging you. Your emotions can distort reality. The calmer you are, the more accurately you'll notice what's actually happening. Good observers don't rush. They watch. They listen. They compare today's behavior with yesterday's. They stay curious instead of making instant judgments. And because of that, they usually understand people much better. Reading people isn't a superpower. It's a skill. Like any skill, it improves with practice. Start paying attention to small details. Notice body language. Listen to tone. Watch for consistency. Look for patterns instead of isolated moments. The more you practice, the easier it becomes. Soon, you'll notice things that most people completely miss. Conclusion. The next time you meet someone, don't try to decide whether they're good or bad in the first few seconds. Instead, become an observer. Watch how they treat people who can't help them. Notice whether their actions match their words. Pay attention to changes in their behavior instead of isolated moments. And remember, the goal isn't to judge people quickly. The goal is to understand them more accurately. If you found this video helpful, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you don't miss future psychology videos. What's the first thing you notice about someone when you meet them? Let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.